The NFL draft is in less than 2 weeks, and there is more smokescreens and rumors than one can count. All we know at this point in time is Trevor Lawrence will be a Jaguar, Zach Wilson will be a Jet, and the 49ers traded up to number 3 overall to select a quarterback. A few days ago, we discussed the Falcons and what their draft plans are at number 4 overall, but to be completely honest, it revolves a lot around what the 49ers do at 3 and who they select. And as we said a couple days ago, when people like Mel Kiper, Daniel Jeremiah, Matt Miller, and Adam Schefter are reporting the pick will be Mac Jones at 3, well, you really have no choice but to believe it. But what I do want to say is the gambling lines shifted since the creation of that video to Justin Fields now being favored at 3, or at least at significantly better odds. So after hearing the most, in quotation marks here, plugged in people in the industry say this, then have Vegas do something else, well, simply put, something will have to give here, as more often than not, Vegas does not lose money, and that is why you see it be a huge tourist area and have big casino after big casino down the strip. They win more than they lose, and this signifies Fields more than likely to be the pick now versus what it was 72 hours ago. And in today's video, we're going to break down several trade options and what it would take to move up to where and what picks would be involved. But before we get started, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as each only take a second to do, and it would be very much appreciated. Now let's begin. So we're going to start today's video by saying this and addressing the odds change with Justin Fields at pick 3. If Fields is the pick at 3 to San Francisco, then what it would cost to move up to number 4 to trade with Atlanta significantly lowers than if the 49ers select Mac Jones at 3. Justin Fields is viewed higher than Mac Jones and Trey Lance are as prospects, and a team would not trade multiple first-round picks to then move up to 4 if indeed Fields is the pick. Multiple as in a 49ers type trade, to be clear. Now, a team like Washington would probably have to give up 2 first-round picks because of how far back they are, as they are currently selecting a 19 overall for those that don't know, because they won the NFC East title. But if Justin Fields fell to 4, it would certainly make things interesting because of Atlanta's new regime and what we do not know about them. We don't know how they draft, what type of players they like, or how much they value this over that. The Raiders, for example, have shown over the past 2 years in the Mike Mayock era that they like players that are well respected and are generally team leaders, and that is shown with selections like Cleveland Farrell, Josh Jacobs, and Henry Ruggs each in the first round. All of those guys were viewed in the locker room of their college as big alpha guys, and it shows in their selection that is what they value. But what we do not know is what the Falcons value and what their front office does. And I do want to say, credit to them, because there has not been a lot leaked out from them as to which prospects they like and as to who they could and are targeting at number 4. For all we know at this point, they could take somebody completely off the wall and completely blow up this draft. But in the case Atlanta does not take Justin Fields and Mac Jones as the pick at 3, there's a possibility Fields slides a bit, and here's why. If San Fran goes Mac and the Falcons go Kyle Pitts or literally anyone not named Justin Fields, well, the Bengals and Dolphins certainly are not taking Fields, and if I had to guess, the Lions would not either at 7. And just being honest here, if Fields fell to 8, Carolina would have to sprint to the podium to take him, but again, they may not have the chance because surely Detroit's phone would be ringing off the hook for someone to come up and get him, whether that would be New England or Washington, because Detroit would not willingly let Chicago have Justin Fields and play him twice a year for potentially the next decade. They've dealt with Aaron Rodgers for nearly 15 years and know what playing against a great quarterback is like, and if they could prevent that, which in this case they can, then they will. But we are discussing what it would take for New England to move up to 7 in front of Carolina, because I am personally not sold, even with the trade to acquire Sam Darnold, that they think he is the long-term answer. I would imagine Detroit immediately asks New England for pick 15 and a 2022 first, and pretty much say, look, Bill, talking about Bill Belichick to be clear, you saw what you had this past year, here's a guy for the next decade, and we want at least another first, and that's to say that might not be all they would want, because New England probably will make the playoffs this year, and that extra first could turn into a late one very easily, which teams a lot of the times view as basically a 2. But New England and Washington would 100% be calling Detroit about pick 7 if Fields is there, and with how the Lions roster is at this point in time, with Jared Goff being their QB for this year and losing their top 2 receivers in Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones in free agency, they'd be dumb not to listen to, or at least try and acquire more first-round picks in the future to try and load their roster with young talent and have a youth movement over the next 2 years. Now, Detroit would be wise to try and trade with someone, and what they get is to be determined, but this is a team that hasn't went to the playoffs in 5 years, and with a new GM and head coach under long-term deals, they'd be wise to do something similar to what the Oklahoma City Thunder are doing now, and acquire as many future first-round picks as they can. So if they don't draft at 7 and trade back to 15 or even 19, then do so while acquiring at least an extra 1. But where Trey Lance goes right now is what I think is the biggest mystery in the draft, because it is a giant question mark. How far will he fall? Will he be selected by someone potentially like Carolina who could have Darnold start for them and have Lance as a contingency plan if he fails? Would Washington value Lance over Fields more because he's a project and they have Ryan Fitzpatrick who could essentially do what he did in 2020 again in 2021 with a young quarterback? I do think both the Falcons and Lions are in the driver's seat for this draft because they can essentially control who gets what quarterback or at least prevent other teams from doing so. We mentioned Detroit would not trade with Chicago if a QB starts to slip, and they wouldn't. Similarly, Atlanta would not trade with the Panthers at 8 if the QB they love is still there at 4. So, if I had to guess what it would cost to trade up for a quarterback in this draft, either 4 or 7, which we assume is where teams would want to trade, the cost will be at least swapping picks and a future one if not more. Now, cost obviously differs per situation because the Bears at pick 20, moving up to pick 4, would cost significantly more than the Patriots moving up from 15 to 7. But what I do want to say is trading up to get a guy is not quarterback exclusive, please know that. In 2019, nearly every mock had the Texans taking tackle Andre Dillard, and the Eagles, who had an aging Jason Peters at the time, swiftly traded with the Ravens to get in front of the Texans to then take Andre Dillard. With great players in this class like Penny Sewell, Jamar Chase, Micah Parsons, and plenty more, teams could certainly trade up to take a guy they love, and it really wouldn't surprise me if and when they do. If the Bengals take Joe Burrow's college teammate Jamar Chase at 5, and the Dolphins take offensive weapon Kyle Pitts at 6, then Detroit could have a field day of offers from teams like the Chargers, who obviously don't need a quarterback, to try and get in front of Carolina, who could take Penny Sewell. So Detroit could have their own bidding war for pick 7, as the Chargers and Patriots could both be trying to slide in front of Carolina for a prospect that each team loves. Not only that, but with how many quarterbacks, offensive tackles, and mainly Jamar Chase and Kyle Pitts that will occupy the top 10 draft picks, Heisman winner Devontae Smith could start to slide, and there very well could be a behind-the-scenes trade being worked out in the midst of all of this that we don't know about. Devontae is a great prospect and won the Heisman for a reason and will be highly sought after. Now, just because he won the Heisman doesn't mean he'll be great in the NFL, but the reality is he will 100% be a first-round pick, and someone will be very happy they add him to their roster, period. Other prospects like Jalen Waddle and Micah Parsons could each fall again due to all of these things happening. And with so many great prospects like Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Penny Sewell, Rashawn Slater, and Patrick Surtain, what's going to be crazy is one or multiple of these guys will inevitably fall out of the top 10. And then it would be a matter of who is willing to give up what to acquire one of these guys. All of these players are great prospects and will certainly make whichever team they go to happy. But where will they land, and will a team give up multiple picks to acquire their services is the million-dollar question. A big-name player will fall in this draft, and it is just a matter of who. This happened before, like when DK Metcalf fell in 2019 to the end of the second round. Granted, he had a broken neck at Ole Miss, but he was a big-name prospect that fell, and someone will this year too. Now, I'm not predicting there's going to be an Aaron Rodgers-type green room sitting there for 4 hours, but surely someone unexplainably will fall, and I would imagine at some point someone trades up. The further someone falls means lost dollars for that said player, and it also means the less someone is willing to give up for what pick they are currently at the time. Now, it is a consensus in the draft community that the top 5 QBs will be taken in the top 10 or 12 picks, so surely none of those 5 will be having a monumental slide, but someone, and we don't know, will. Caleb Farley was once routinely mocked in the top 10 picks, but now the question is, how far will he fall due to a back injury and surgery? There's also been talk that some teams, believe it or not, value Rashawn Slater over Penny Sewell because he is older and more polished. Now, they don't value him because he is older, to be clear, but they value him because as of right now, like as I record this video, he is a more complete product. So I don't want to propose the question of could Penny fall, because there's no way he'll make it past 10, but could Rashawn Slater be the first tackle taken? I don't think it's as far odds as you'd think. If he is, then any of these teams we mentioned would be immediately trying to trade up, and more than likely the Minnesota Vikings would be included in that. There is so much speculation and buzz around this class right now, and who knows where anybody will go aside from the first 2. Last year, I will say 1-2 was also punched with Burrow and Young, and I thought Okudah to the Lions was pretty much locked, and eventually Tua would get to pick 5 and ultimately the Dolphins. Who the Giants took at 4, mainly which tackle, was the question, and to me they surprised everyone when they took Andrew Thomas over Jedrick Wills. But this year all we know is positions of the first 3 picks and who the top 2 are. That's it. We don't know anything else beyond that, and that's one reason why the 2021 draft is going to be fun to pay attention to. It's almost like 2018 where we know teams are taking quarterbacks, we just don't know who and what teams will give up what to get their guy. 3 years later, there's been mixed results as Josh Rosen is a draft bust, and the last quarterback drafted in the first round has an MVP. I'm just going to keep this going. You know what? We're 10 minutes in. He has an MVP to his name. It's Lamar Jackson from the Ravens. Anyways, there will be players that fall this year, and there will probably be a few players that are overdrafted over seemingly great prospects like Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson, for example, and I cannot wait for this draft. We are less than 2 weeks away, and the day after I will immediately post a video about day one reactions and everything of that nature. Now, that wraps up today's video. I actually kept the mess up, and as you guys heard about 30 seconds ago, so I'm going a little off script right now, but if you enjoyed today's video, please like and subscribe. It would mean the world. We are closing in on 25,000, and I cannot thank you guys enough for the continued support. Until next time, have a great day. Love you guys. Deuces. Peace.